Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forgotten Horror Podcast. And today we are going to do something slightly different. Me and Carlos have been invaded by my other half, Jilly. We're going to do something slightly different. Carlos, do you want to tell us, everybody, what we're going to be doing tonight?
Well, it's actually a request from Davey's other half, Jilly, who's a massive fan of this Brian De Palma movie, which we're going to be discussing on episode 10 with more horror movie memories. And we're going to be talking about Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill from 1980.
What a film. What a film. So, what would you class this one as? I mean, would you class it as a slasher film? Would you class it as a noir erotica? Because there's quite a few talking points in this one, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, I would even class it as an American giallo movie. I mean, I don't know what Jilly, what bracket she might put this movie in. Jilly?
Yeah, you honestly, when you said that about the giallo, when I watch Dress to Kill, it does give me that giallo, it does make you look at it like a bit like a giallo, doesn't it, when you watch it? I mean, when it comes to giallo, there's normally a lot of nudity, and let's put it this way, with Dress to Kill, they do exactly the same thing, don't they? So,
The opening scene, yeah.
Yeah, right from the get-go, they do it, don't they, with the nudity. The opening scene with it in the shower. So there's being a body double used, but the actress, what's her name?
Yeah. Angie Dickinson. Yeah.
So Angie Dickinson, so when she's in the shower at the beginning, that's actually not her. It's was it Penthouse or one of them sorts of magazines, wasn't it?
Some sort of
like Playmate that's in that shower. That's not like a Playmate's body in the shower. But Angie Dickinson herself actually said to them that she didn't want a body double for that movie. She wanted to try and do a lot of it herself. It was just mainly that shower scene, and that the inspiration for that movie come from Hitchcock. So if you look at that movie and you watch it, there's a lot of influence from Psycho with Alfred Hitchcock, which you can see that throughout the movie, that the reference to Hitchcock a lot. They do reference to Hitchcock a lot in that movie, especially with when you look at the kills and the things they do in it. Which I am a massive fan of Psycho. Massive fan of Psycho. Love the original Psycho. Hitchcock.
I think it was pretty well documented that Brian De Palma was a massive fan of Hitchcock. I mean, it's pretty crystal clear when you watch Dress to Kill and some of his other movies. But this one more so in the style that it's done, and even the music that they use, which I think is quite underrated. That opening scene, obviously, I mean, Angie Dickinson, I mean, she was a bit of a symbol in the 60s and 70s, and obviously to get her to do this sort of movie, and obviously she wasn't going to be doing that scene, and they were going to use, they're not going to use a lot of frontal sort of scenes of her bearing her upper body. I mean, I kind of got that, but brave move, because obviously, a bit like Psycho, De Palma, what you think is going to be the main character. I mean, this is going to be a bit of a hard episode to do because you don't really want to say too much of the spoilers, but one of the main characters of the movie, obviously, there is also another female lead in this. It's a movie with two main female characters, obviously the bored housewife and the prostitute that witnesses a terrible sort of killing. So, I mean, obviously, it's a brave move. I mean, for those who've seen Psycho, again, the main female lead in that doesn't last long in the movie, which kind of resembles what De Palma uses. So it's like a winning formula. But I think the original scene, I think, Davey, you might sort of know this, that obviously it was going to be about a man who actually switchblades his private parts at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
But De Palma, he went against that.
Yeah. He there was this, because there was a lot of cross references about this one. You remember when we did Terror Train?
Yeah.
The killer in Terror Train has that, you know what I mean? The theme of the killer in Terror Train is in disguise as there's a lot of cross reference with this film coming. When I looked at that, and I thought, yeah. And then when reading about Brian De Palma, he did want to do that, didn't he? And it was it would, I think it would have been a too bold a move. I mean, the movie itself for 1980 has got a lot of things where you raise your eyebrows, because it was classed as an erotic thriller, a noir erotic thriller, but then it had like the slasher element to it. So
there was a lot of controversy apparently around it for elements of like the sexual themes, the graphic violence, and also to do with the gender identity. That they touched on that as well. So there was a lot of controversial stuff around that as well. So he does bring in a lot of things that were controversial. And when me and Davey were looking at it, wasn't it? Was it actually, what was it? Was it an X or something?
Yeah.
Rated
Well,
X or...
it was in our original preset release on Guild was given an X rating, because the UK at that time would have had the full uncut version with the extra scenes and the more graphic kills and stuff, and it was given an X rating by the board. So we had the uncut version. Now, I think in America they had two versions of it. They had a trimmed down version and the full uncut version. Everybody can get the full uncut version now, but back then when it was released, I think it was in America, they had a bit trimmed out of it. I think the nudity at the beginning, the lower half of the body was trimmed out, and I think that the slicing of the throat might have been out of it as well. So there was two versions of it, because one was more graphic in nature and the other one was slightly toned down. But I think in this instance, this is where you do need to see the full uncut version to see what Brian De Palma intended all along, because it touches on, like Jilly was saying, it touches on so many different taboo subjects.
Yeah, it does.
And in 1980, I mean, that was pre-video nasty era, so we got the Certificate X version that was shown in the UK, and I remember watching it on the VHS back in the day. At first, I didn't know quite what to make of it, because I was young. I was really young. You know, I was like, what, 9, something like that, when I watched it. Something ridiculous with my sister and her friends. So it wasn't a standout film compared to like The Burning and the other video horrors that we was watching at the time. But as I've got older, I've appreciated it a lot more. And because it never got put on the Video Nasty Acts, it never got banned, Carlos. So I was able to watch it as is right the way through my teenage and to my 20s. You know what I mean? I think that helped. You know what I mean? I got an appreciation for it, because obviously, like you said, we're massive fans of Psycho, and you can see the way it was stylistically shot. There was a lot of Hitchcock killer in plain sight type of moments in it, and I appreciated that as I got older, Carlos. It was a well shot film.
Yeah. My movie memory on this one, I mean, at the time, VHS days, I saw Carrie and Scarface first, but then, like most of us, when we watched a movie that we like, you know, we read up about the actor, the director, and we tend to look for those movies that they would have directed or appear. And Dress to Kill, I do remember seeing that in the store. I mean, Guild Video, it would have been. That would have been the cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I knew about Dress to Kill, but it was one that didn't grab me. Again, at the same time, I think I've mentioned a few times, my whole idea of going in a video store was grabbing anything that looked like an action movie with a cover or something of a gory cover. And obviously with that, it doesn't really show much there, Dress to Kill. So I didn't really know what to make of it. But as much as I wanted to watch it and horror it out on video, it popped up on TV, on ITV. And again, I watched it, and then the ending caught me off guard, which I'm not going to say. That was like really, wow, I didn't really see that coming. You know, obviously these days with movies and TV shows, the shock element goes revealed pretty easy. But back then, you know, seeing a movie like Dress to Kill with the ending, obviously certain scenes was shocking for 1980. And it definitely shocked me.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at that opening scene, and again, you know, people sort of say about, you know, he rips off Hitchcock, but at the same time, he's cross-referencing some of his early movies and some of his later movies.
Is. Yeah.
I mean, the opening scene, again, the opening scene is a bit like Carrie with Sissy Spacek in the shower scene.
Absolutely, absolutely. There was mirror image of his previous work, especially Carrie, because I got Carrie vibes from that opening scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it seems to give me Carrie vibes through it. Although this came out a few years later, it did give me that shower scene. Did give me the opening scenes. And I'm thinking, oh, you can tell this guy did Carrie. You know what I mean? But I'm in agreement with you, Carl, because I never saw the video cover. My sister and her friends picked it up. When I looked at the cover, it's like something that my mum would have picked up on a Saturday afternoon. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, watch this. If they'd have had like the razor blade and some blood and the glasses, that would have probably twigged a bit more. Oh, wow, yeah, what? Dress to Kill, you know what I mean? And a bit of blood on there.
Like that.
Because what you say, yeah, that's it. If we'd have had something like that, more people would have been drawn to go for that one. You know what I mean? Because all we had was the art covers, the artwork on the covers, didn't we? So of course you were going to pick Driller Killer and something over Dress to Kill, because the Burning, Driller Killer, the Bogeyman, all those are like classic iconic covers. And then when you see Dress to Kill with a pair of legs, you go, that's a woman's movie, as we used to say back then. But as soon as you put it on,
I feel like it's going to be James Bond-esque title, Dress to Kill. You know, like, I could see the Bond movie being called Dress to Kill, you know.
License to Kill, Dress to Kill.
Dress to Kill.
Yeah.
You know, Dress to Kill is not one I obviously didn't see it when I was young. I've seen it in recent years, but I feel like every time I watch Dress to Kill, I always notice something else in Dress to Kill.
Yeah.
Because when you watch Dress to Kill, there's that much in it, in what he does, and like we say, we can't go into too much in some aspects because you just give the game away completely, and it would ruin it. But it is such a good film when you look at it and how many things he does in it. It is really good. Like that scene in the museum. Do you know where she's in the museum and she's flirting with that guy, and she's going through the museum? That scene apparently was like a really iconic scene. It got highly praised for being so good for what he did with that scene. They said that when they filmed that scene, it was almost 10 minutes of just no dialogue whatsoever. And it was like one of the scenes apparently that really stood out because there was no dialogue. And it's only when you watch it and then you go, oh God, yeah, there is. There's like not like they don't speak. But like when she's sat in that museum and she's observing like people watching, and then she goes out and like him and that guy are having that interaction, and he walks out the museum, and then, you know, with the whole glove thing, and he gets in the taxi and you realise that, yeah, actually, where was the dialogue in that scene? But you don't notice it because that's how well he shot it. You were so captured by the scene itself and what was happening within the scene that you don't notice that there's just like barely any dialogue going on.
I'll be honest. When I watched that as a mid-teen, that scene kind of skipped me by. And as we get older, like you say, especially with this movie, you pick up on things like that. There's certain little bits of information that you pick up, and watching it now, I kind of really appreciate it. I mean, I do prefer Carrie a little bit overdressed to kill, but this is a more kind of more grander and well-made movie. You can see the experience that De Palma. He's one of them directors. He actually gets better with age. I mean, a lot of people say Scarface is one of his greatest gangster movies, but I also like Carlito's Way, which he made 10 years later, and that's even a better made movie, and even The Untouchables. So he's kind of he's a director who kind of learns from his experiences and his craft. And yeah, like I say, that museum scene, which I think was filmed in Philadelphia, but it was actually most of it was in New York.
Yeah.
And as a mid-teen, I kind of ignored that. But I mean, getting ready for this review, I watched it twice, and I really appreciate that scene, how well it was really shot.
Yeah, because when you look at the film and you watch it a couple of times, and then there's certain aspects of that film you can look on, and it's so good the way he's done it. Like, and even the characters in that film, I really like. You know, like again, Michael Caine, the fact that he was in it. I mean, he's a good actor anyway. But I mean, you know, he's in it, and then I forget his name, but the guy who was in Christine, and I'm terrible with names.
Keith Gordon,
and he's in there as well.
He'd just done Jaws 2, hadn't he, at the time?
Yeah, and apparently Angie Dickinson, he looked at other actresses before he got to her, and there was an actress who turned it down because she said there was too much violence in it. She didn't like the violence of what was in it. But yeah, and there's scenes that really stand out in this film, I think. I mean, obviously it's got nudity, and obviously it's like got sex in it. I mean, the bit that makes me laugh is when she has sex with her husband, he pats her on the face afterwards. And I went to him, if someone passing me on the face, I said I'd punch him in the face. I said he wouldn't get away with doing that, I'd punch him in the face, and he was laughing. And I said, but, you know, it is like one of them films again that I've watched and then watched it and then watched it again and then gone, wow, there's just like, there's so many aspects to Dress to Kill that you really appreciate it the more you watch it. I think it's one of them films.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that, you know, with Angie Dickinson's character, Kate Miller, people say, oh, well, she was a stupid woman for getting in that situation that she got into. It's right, but I think no, hang on, you got to remember, she's in a pretty lifeless marriage. Her husband really kind of ignores her. She's got a young geeky son played by Keith Gordon, very similar character to what he played in Christine. A bit of a geek before he turned in that one. And I kind of felt sorry for the Kate Miller character. She just seeked a bit of passion, and obviously, you know, think she got caught up in that hotel. So I kind of felt bad for her. I mean, like I say,
you do feel sorry for her.
Desperate.
But the poor woman, bless her, like you said, she, you know, she didn't feel appreciated at home. Her husband basically just ignored her. And, you know, I don't know how, I mean, again, he's only doing what can happen in real life in marriages or relationships where a partner feels neglected, and normally that's why people do have affairs, because they do feel neglected and they don't feel like they're seen in the relationship, and that's why. But there's many reasons people have affairs, that's not just it. But I can see where what she did, because she did feel neglected by him. But then the
Yeah.
poor woman, it was like, when I think about it, the poor woman, it was like instant karma for doing what she did. Because then she finds that medical report
Oh,
of him having
Yeah.
like sexually transmitted
Yeah.
diseases, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this poor woman, you know, give her, catch her a break, you know, she's already in
Yeah.
a lifeless
Yeah.
marriage, and then she goes and does that, and it's like,
It's like the worst day of her life, literally.
know.
In what happens to her, it's like the worst day of her life, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the cast in this movie is outstanding. Obviously, you know, obviously to get Michael Caine for this movie, they would have been having to pay a considerable amount. I mean, you know, he was a big actor, Michael Caine,
Yeah, he was,
popular.
man, yeah. Yeah.
I did know they actually tried to get Sean Connery.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
They tried to get Sean Connery. I don't know whether he
That would have been
probably
interesting.
he probably would have been in demand. But I mean, Angie Dickinson again, she, you know, recognisable, good-looking woman, sex symbol, 60s and 70s, a little bit more low-key than some of some of those other actresses. I mean, I think she would have been pushing in her late 40s and still had the look.
Yeah,
Yeah, she still carried it
Yeah.
off as a beautiful,
she did. Yeah, she did.
a beautiful woman. And she actually said, I mean, this is a great release on Arrow. I mean, I didn't really believe how many features they had on this, but I saw some sort of interview. She said the scene in the taxi, she was quite concerned because,
Yeah.
you know, when they were filming, they had to get the cameras low. So basically, when they were filming that scene, you had lorry truck drivers driving past, and they
Oh,
could see
yeah,
Angie
absolutely,
Dickinson
yeah,
sort of like, you know, you can imagine that. I mean, Angie Dickinson doing a movie like this. I mean,
driving around the block a few times.
well, yeah. I mean, fair play for her. I mean, for an actress of that stature to even come and do a movie like this.
Yeah,
But like
it
I
was
say,
pretty
great
close
cast.
to the bone, that one.
Yeah,
So, but also the other star in this was Nancy Allen. I
yeah,
mean, she returned from Carrie. She played the bitch in Carrie, as you know.
Hmm.
But in this one, she plays the high class prostitute.
yeah.
She witnesses things, doesn't she? So then the killer turns the attention
Yeah.
to her. Oof,
I always liked Nancy Allen. I mean, I didn't quite like her when she had that sort of short hair in RoboCop. She didn't quite look right because she had this big sort of hair in Carrie, and
long flowing hair, didn't she? Yeah.
yeah, and obviously I think De Palma they were actually married 4 or 5 years, and it said that he actually created the part for her.
Yeah.
I think she looks believable as the prostitute in
Absolutely.
this. I did like the sort of pairing of Keith Gordon and Nancy Allen's character Liz
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Obviously, towards the end of the movie, I thought that really worked well.
Yeah.
But Nancy Allen again, you know, I thought she was really good in this movie. Obviously, she would appear again in another De Palma movie, Blowout, which is probably
Yeah.
probably my favourite, if I'm honest, that she's appeared in. Jilly,
Yeah.
what do you think of Nancy Allen?
I like Nancy Allen. I thought she was really good in this. Do you know what I mean? She's got like that, you know, that innocent face because she's obviously very pretty, isn't she? So she's
Yeah.
got like an innocent look. She is beautiful, but then she played the escort. So I thought it was really good for her because she does. So she wasn't like, so she could give off the high class escort, couldn't she? But like,
Yeah.
again, you know, again with you know, it just shows, doesn't it, in that movie the way the police treated her like she was an idiot, you know, because of what she does as a job. Well, you know, we're not going to listen to her
Yeah.
sort of thing. Which again, he's hitting on the point of the fact that, you know, women don't always get listened to. That's another thing if you look at it that way. And
Yeah.
because she's a sex worker, she doesn't get listened to. She gets took seriously. But really, it was because of her that led them to where they got, because of her. Because she was
Yeah.
obviously a clever girl, but
Yeah.
they ignored that, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? They just saw her as, oh, you're just, so, you know, we're just going to ignore you. But I liked her. I think she was really good in this. I think her
Mm.
portrayal and everything is good because she's not like the sleazy hooker and shit. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
She's
she
very
tried to make out she was a bit of a classy one because
Yeah.
she was with that sort of broker, and she sort of said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to sort of have a word with my broker," sort of thing, and she's looking at shares and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think De Palma. I watched an interview when he actually said that hotel in New York was known for Wall Street stockbrokers to kind of pick up hookers and actually take them to that hotel. So
Yeah.
he
yeah.
saw that. De Palma went and had a look at that, and he thought, "I'm going to use this very hotel
Yeah,
for the
because
movie."
I don't know why I've just remembered this, but was the room 3331 or something? Because I remember when she went to the room and the guy was like, and he like drags her in. Do you know, like, because she goes, "You gonna invite me in?" And she like gets pulled in.
Just pause right there a second. Me and Carlos know that client that she went to in that hotel because I'm getting Christmas Evil vibes
Oh,
because
Yeah,
there he was.
Mr.
It was Harry from Christmas Evil, and it was nice to
Miss,
see him in that sort of role. And I thought to
yeah.
myself, he's gonna put the Santa suit on. That's his
Oh,
thing.
oh,
He's
old
going to have the
Brandon
Santa
Maggot.
suit on behind that door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
old Brandon Maggot. Yeah, I kind of laughed when I saw that because I kept sort of thinking, oh, you've got Artie Cunningham and Christine, and you've got sort of Santa from Christmas Evil, and how cool is that?
You've also got the playing the copper. He was Mr. Toomey in Psycho 2. I forget
Yeah,
his
Dennis
name.
Franz. Dennis
That's the guy.
Franz. He was also the airport cop in Die Hard 2. That was
Yeah,
trying to. Yeah, he's good. He always plays the
he's
cop.
got a look about him as well.
He always
So
plays the cop. He was in Hill Street Blues and
yeah,
NYPD Blue. Always played
yeah,
a
he
copper.
was. Yeah. So
Great
we've got
cast.
we've got a great strong, solid cast in this thing, haven't we?
Yeah.
The way it's been shot, there's obviously a budget behind it because didn't it make something like $32 million
some stupid,
at the
Yeah.
box office?
Yeah.
And it was like
Wasn't it made for 6 million?
something like that.
Something like
But then some of the critics said it was the first great American movie because like, it's from 1980. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I see that on the advert.
decade.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
But they went on about it being actually one of the like because it was such an amazing thriller, one of the best of the 80s, you know, like it stood out as one of the really great thrillers of the 80s because of what he did with it. So that like I know that I saw something about they were saying how good he was for the 80s at the time. What he did was amazing, do you know what I mean? And that's why like people look at it now and all the references to Hitchcock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also the other thing he does, which they mentioned that they said people don't realise is he puts a lot of mirrors in the movie. So if you look back, there's certain places where there's lots of mirrors. And apparently that's to do with the psychological thing. You know, that like two split personality type references. It's more the psychological reference with all the mirrors everywhere. And he puts all that into the movie as well. So he has all like them hidden references that you don't even realise. Do you know what I mean? Like when they say references to Hitchcock, it said like, you know, the hidden personality, you know, that sort of thing, the psychological aspects of him putting mirrors in everywhere. So there was mirrors in the museum. I think there was mirrors in the doctor's office, which was Michael Caine's office.
Yeah.
And it was all to do with that split personality thing, all referencing to that. So he put all that sort of stuff in, and it's only when you go back and
You
watch
pick up on it.
and if you look into these things, you go, oh yeah, you know, like that's really clever. There's like a lot of hidden meanings in the movie you don't see.
I also have like obviously the double split personality. Again, this is where De Palma would use kind of an extension of a character in this movie and then he went on to do Raising Caine with John Lithgow. There was a double personality there.
Yeah.
And probably an extension of Nancy Allen's character, the high class hooker. I mean, they kind of went full deep underground in the seedy world of kind of porn in Body Double, which is kind of, fairly similar type sort of character. I mean, Nancy Allen could have probably played that.
Yeah.
But then obviously I think their marriage was a little bit on the rocks. So you do get like kind of like extensions of characters in certain movies that went on a little bit later in his career, which I picked up rewatching this movie again.
I must say, Carlos, there's a couple of chase sequences through this film, and she's quite got the tension going as well, isn't there? Where the killer's after Liz. She thinks she's got away, and then she ends up on the train, doesn't she? And I mean, there's some tension in that chase sequence as well, isn't there? So
I think if you're going to use New York as a setting, then you got to use the heavy traffic in the central New York, also the subway. You just got to.
Yeah.
You know, it's just too good opportunity not to use a good chase scene, and a good scene it was.
The other thing in this movie is that I've seen is about the killer. So it was saying he did a lot of the killer in plain sight, which you don't realise. So he's like hidden, and then when you look back, you realise he's like in the back, is somewhere in the background.
You can see the killer in the background.
It said he was like reflected in the glass. There were certain scenes where he's there, which he did, which was really clever. So that's really clever because he said he was just like hidden, but then if you go back and watch, you'll spot him. So then that's really good the way he does that.
It's a little bit like Terror Train we did, isn't it? The Killer in Plain Sight.
Yeah, you realise it after. I mean, it's one of the movies. Obviously, when you watch it, if you watch it once, if you watch it again, then you really do pick up certain bits and pieces.
This is one movie that I could just watch over and over, Carlos, because like you say, like Billy was saying, there's certain stuff you missed the first couple of times and you pick up on this is one that you definitely can watch multiple times and get more out of it when you know a little bit more about it.
You get like a new appreciation for it. And
I did, yeah.
The other thing that with this movie as well is, so you like in all the movies, the final girl. They were saying really he broke the rule with the final girl in this movie because Nancy Allen, she's the one who basically leads them to the, finding it where it is, don't they? So they say the final girl rule is actually broken because normally the final girl, that's not normally what happens,
Yeah.
So he said it says the final girl rule's broken in this movie with Nancy Allen, which is really interesting. And I never thought of that until I saw that being said about it. He breaks the final girl rule with Nancy Allen.
I remember Julie's reaction when she was watching it for the very, very first time, and then she found out who the killer was. She didn't see that coming at all. She was like,
"No, not at all."
Oh my God! You know what I mean? Because she was like genuinely shocked who the killer was, and she was like, "Oh, you did." Because again, it was like watching it again for the first time back then. With I knew what was happening. Julie never. So when she watched it for the first time, she was like, "Oh, because there is a red herring against the killer because there's someone who looks like the killer as well, and you think that's the killer, and
that throws you off a bit. Yeah,
that throws you off a little bit because she's sort of on the tail as well. So yes, in that way, there is a blonde woman stalking her as well. But you don't know. You think it's the killer.
Yeah.
It was a good thing because that comes to head with Keith Gordon when he's outside, isn't it? Because it's a setup and it's raining and he's got his binoculars and he's looking, and then next thing you see that, and you think, oh shit,
Another
there's
one.
the killer's behind. He's got the kid. He's gonna
Yeah.
kill the kid. You know what I mean? And
That scene,
and it's not the way around.
that scene can sort of catch you off guard a little bit. You think, what's going on in this sort of thing? But
Yeah.
you do see it. It does kind of get a little bit explained a little bit later. I always sort of say this movie. I mean, obviously Hitchcock. I mean, De Palma actually said the best killing he ever filmed was the lift scene, because the way he shot it. I mean, obviously, you say Hitchcock, what he did for showers. You know, certain people were afraid to have a shower, but then when this movie came out, nobody wanted to get in the lift on their own sort of thing, because you know, when that scene does come, I mean, wow, when you see it, I mean, it's still a powerful scene.
You got a certificate X for a reason.
That scene stood out, didn't it? And they said that reference to Hitchcock, him doing that with the killing with the blaze, with the
fast cuts,
and all that. If that was a reference to Hitchcock when he did with that scene, but that scene was said as being controversial and very, you know, shocking for the 80s. It was like people like, but
there was one scene, I'm going to say the very end sequence, Carl. So go back and, well, you'll probably still be fresh in your mind, but the very end scene, there's a scene that De Palma's filmed it, and it's almost identical to the beginning of Halloween, the original Halloween, from the approach. The way he does it, I'm not going to give it too away, but if you look at
I know what you mean.
If you look at the beginning of Halloween and you watch the very end, towards the end scene of this one, there's some POV, there's POV shots, and then the move round to the house, and it's the same way it's shot, and that was so Carpenter-esque in the far scene. And I only twigged the other day. I went, oh boy, that reminds me of Halloween. That sequence reminds me, because you're looking through the killer's point of view.
Yeah.
And it's the way it moves, and I'm thinking, that's so Halloween that came out a couple of years earlier.
Yeah.
So
I mean, directors do take sort of, I don't know what you want to call it. I wouldn't say rip, or I can't say more paying homage to certain movies, how they're shot. I mean, like, you know, you had John Ford with Sergio Leone. I mean, you had Carpenter with Bob Clark with Black Christmas. Everybody takes a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it's not so much that you're copying it, you just do it in a different sort of way. I mean, I kind of class this movie as more of an adult Alfred Hitchcock movie, you know, a 1980s adult Hitchcock movie. You know, that's what I sort of reference the giallo movies are, kind of a little bit an Italian European Hitchcock movie with an adult theme. They just make it in their own different sort of style. So I don't knock it because a director's using paying homage or taking scenes from that movie and that movie, because I think most movies do that anyway.
I mean, look at the movies that are out today. Look at the storylines that come out today. You know, there was something me and Davey have seen recently, and I can't remember now, and we both said that that's similar to another film. When we were looking at when the advertisement came for films, I know it was Ready or Not, the Ready or Not film. So the thing about them, you know, hunting people, you know, doing the hunting, you know, people for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at all different films, that's been done before. The hunting people for fun. The film Hunt does it.
Yeah.
You know, Ready or Not's doing it. You know, there's. I mean, if you think about it, you know, there's been other films that have done that and I can't think off the top of my head, but when me and you went to the cinema last night and that trailer come on for Ready or Not, me and him went, but that's been done, like, that has been done
Mm.
before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like you said, it's like, these things can have been done before, but it's the spin they put on them, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
and again, it's like when they do a remake of something. We were talking about this, weren't we, before? You know, when they do remakes, say, of Chainsaw Massacre, you know, again, people just put their own spin on whatever it is, don't they? And then it's not really copying it.
It's paying tribute.
And also, people are paying tribute to people they respect, like, you know, look up to, whatever. But in art, or in, you know, a creative world, isn't that what it's meant to be? You put your own interpretation on something. That's what art is. So I
Yeah.
don't know why people get so rattled by the idea that directors do that, because that's just what artistic people do.
Yeah.
Put their own artistic spin on something somebody else did.
And De Palma did it really well with Dress
He
to
did it
Kill.
amazing.
You know, it's his Psycho movie, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And where would you rate this thing, Carlos? If someone hasn't seen it, how would you?
Oh,
Where would you rate this one? Because I know you like recommending things to people. What would you do with this one?
I would say this is kind of a very stylish 80s erotic adult Italian giallo styled movie. I mean, they say De Palma said he wasn't influenced by the giallo movies, but he must have had a look at one or two of them. I mean, you know, you got The Glove, which is a giallo reference,
And the razor.
the switchblade as well.
So you got
again,
all the elements are lining up. It's the fact it's just not Italian made.
yeah. So I mean, like we just mentioned earlier, you take a little bit of everything. Great cast. It's one of those movies that will shock you. I think it's still a powerful movie to watch, even though it's 46 years later.
Yeah,
It's definitely a movie. It's definitely a movie you'd watch and you'd be like, "Wow, shit, what have I just watched?"
Yeah.
And yeah, it does it hits hard with the transgender thing, which was quite different early stages. You know, people weren't really talking about that.
That got a lot of question marks, didn't it? And it was
Yeah. Again, you know, people would sort of say, you know, back then when I watched it as a teen, did that bother me? I said, no, it's kind of, it just adds to the movie.
Yeah.
It's a different sort of spin on it.
It was the shock value for me when I
Yeah.
when I originally watched it, and I was like, really? Oh, okay. And even back then, I was like, oh, okay, you're right, yeah. Because it could just be seen. It could have just been saw as a disguise to a kid. Got a disguise on. Yeah.
I think this movie is really, really interesting though, because if you think about Nancy Allen's character with the lad who also Christine, I always forget his name. But if you think about their relationship in this movie, you know, and you think about, like, his mum gets killed, doesn't she? And you think about how the relationship between him and Nancy Allen in the end, you know, and how all that like goes.
It's got a good bond,
you know, and they end up with the bond they do, and in a way, you're like, I mean, if you think about it, she's a sex worker, but like, again, would you have seen that coming? Like the bond they have, obviously, you know what I mean? And like, he's lost his mum, and
good film,
you know, and then Nancy Allen being the person who actually is the one that opens it all and gets the you know, finds them who it is, basically, because
she goes
of
on
her.
the trial. Yeah, she goes on the trial, really, didn't
you
she?
know, I like that's where there's that when I read it, I thought, yeah, of course, the final girl, she is not the normal final girl. This final girl is the one who opens the lid to finding the killer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would definitely rate this a lot higher than I used to do. After watching it more recently as well for this, because I know Jilly wanted to do this one, and I rewatched it. We've rewatched it quite a lot. Like yourself, we just rewatched it. And I've really, really thought, wow, this is a brilliant film. I mean, I'm a fan of it, and And so those people who are watching it and have not seen this, I would highly recommend it.
Especially, and I'm sure Carlos is going to agree, for the ending, which we can't say because it would completely give everything away.
Yeah.
But what transpires and when you find out who the killer is was absolute genius. And it was
I always like it. I always like De Palma's movies. I mean, a lot of people say he's a controversial director, but that may be so. But controversy sells. I mean, people say that Scarface was overdone, and it didn't do that great in the box office. It actually became more of a cult. I mean, it made money. It just wasn't as big a box office movie as people would like to think. But it had a bit of a cult following. I mean, critics kind of panned it a little bit, said it was excess and it was over the top. But in today's world of movies, people love it for that because it is over the top.
Yeah.
And I think, as we try to round this off, I think if anyone hasn't seen this movie, likelihood they would have seen Scarface and Carrie and possibly The Untouchables, then movies like Dress to Kill, Body Double, and Blowout, I would definitely recommend.
Definitely, yeah. Right then, I think that one's in the bag. That's in the history books, Carlos.
I think it is episode 10.
I think we've got That's Dress to Kill. All that's left to say is thank you so much for watching. Are you going to say what we've got coming up next, Carlos, or are we still? We've got a few more ideas coming out. So,
well, yeah, episode 11, we're going to be discussing a kind of the rated and forgotten horror movie, as this is for the Forgotten Horror channel. We're going to be discussing kind of a supernatural horror movie from the early 1980s, starring Barbara Hershey, loosely based on a true story. So that's what we've got coming up on episode 11. I just want to say one last thing. It's great to finally speak with Mrs. Davy Dark, Jilly, who's made a kind of comeback to YouTube.
Yeah,
I know I've been gone.
Yeah, she's been gone. We do the alternate markets together and that, but Jilly wanted to get back doing some of her type of films as well. So you'll probably see Jilly and Carlos doing some collaborations in the future as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, Carlos, because we've talked about that, haven't we? Doing some giallo and going back.
Yeah, we'll have a go doing a giallo movie, maybe an Argento one or Sergio Martino movie. If anybody want to request a Argento or Sergio Martino movie, we'll do that.
Most definitely. Can I just say very, very quickly? So the last time I was on here was actually 4 months ago, and people left comments. And can I just say, I apologise that I didn't get back to people. I am so sorry, but I did appreciate everyone's comments, and you will see me more. You will see me more. And I will be here more, definitely. I'll pop on.
Just pop on. And right now, we're just going to pop off.
We're going to pop on.
Yeah.
So, with that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Again, check out my Horror Hombre, Eastwood for Life fan. Check out his channel, and we will see you next time for another banger. See you, everybody.
Cheers. Thanks for watching.